This is the Frat House Sports Show. And now for this week's completely different and humorous perspective on everything sports, here's Frat House Mike and Sidekick.
Alrighty, well, thank you very, very much for finding us back here in mid-October on the new Frat House Sports Show for another football-packed. But hey, let's not get it straight. We got playoff baseball going on up there. We got hockey going on behind us over here. So we got highlights going on. We're going to be talking about NASCAR playoffs going on. And during this show, we got another visit from our friends over at Coach and Player Magazine. This week, we're chatting up the NFC East. But let's get right to it. And let's get over and see what's happening over there in that Major League Baseball playoffs, as we've got both the League Championship Series going on in both the American League and in the National League. And I got to be honest, first off, over in the NLCS, we're honestly, Sidekick, I got to tell you the truth. I really thought the Cardinals were going to finish it off last night and take care of that series with the Los Angeles Dodgers. But 4 home runs last night, 4 of them, 2 of them from Adrian Gonzalez.
Yep.
Kept the Dodgers alive.
Took them to Game 4 to...
You got it. Heading back to St. Louis tomorrow for Game 6.
Yep.
Cardinals are now up 3-2.
Yes.
Now, over in the ALCS, and that's the game we've got going on up here, the series is all tied up at 2 games apiece. And both the Detroit Tigers and the Boston Red Sox, well, they've proven to be quite even, as both have won a game at home and on the road. So Game 5 this evening going on right now in Detroit. We got Red Sox John Lester going up against Anibal Sanchez. All right, and there's our what's going on anyhow right now in Major League Baseball as far as the playoffs go. Hey, what's going on in NASCAR? How about that one with the playoffs going on, the chase? And we're halfway through the chase. 5 races only remaining now in the entire season and to determine this year's champion. Now, I asked the question last week, who would be the first non-chase driver to win? And it didn't take too long, did it? Nope. We were talking about that a little bit pre-show. It only took until Saturday night at Charlotte for last year's Sprint Cup champions.
I'm psychic, you know.
Sprint Cup Series champion Brad Keselowski to win not only a chase race, but how about his first of the entire season. Keselowski led all of a whopping total of 11 laps, while laps leader Casey Kane with 138 led. Well, he came in second. But as you pointed out, Sidekick, I might have pointed out the fact that, well, you know, hey, when's the first non-chase driver going to win? As you pointed out, it is so difficult. You know, you get a second place finish, it's very difficult to get up that leaderboard.
Yep.
Even with that second place finish, it did absolutely nothing, in fact. You're going to see it in a moment, to help Casey Kane's standings in the chase leaderboard. And there you have it. Let's take a look at that leaderboard. Now, I've shaded out drivers below number 8, but as was pointed out pre-show, I probably could have taken that line up just a bit higher. And it does appear that it's coming down at this point right now to a 2-man race between Matt Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson. What do we have there? Only 4 points separating them. But this weekend is Talladega. Anything else on that leaderboard that was striking to you in any way this week?
Well, you know, we can't look at Casey Kane exactly, but you know, it's two top 5 finishes back to back.
Yeah.
And he's
not moved.
Still in the basement.
He's not moved. Well, it goes right back to the point you made last week.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, he's going to have to now get a win. You know, which could happen in Talladega. I mean, Talladega's crapshoot.
Anything could happen there.
But, you know, we're starting to see the board stabilize a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know, we've only got Boyer that moved up, Earnhardt dropped.
Right.
Edwards moved up, and then Logano jumped. So we only had 4 people that moved.
Right. Now, obviously, nobody's mathematically out of this at this particular point.
No.
This is basically just our gauge of where things stand
That's a logical,
yes.
You know, if you were a betting guy, you could say, you could probably even almost go up maybe to 5. Mm-hmm. You know, if you were a little hedging your bets a little bit, that basically it's between these 4.
Coming down to it. I mean, it was brought up a couple of weeks ago. This might be coming down to a 2-man race, and that's
because, for instance, with how wild Talladega is, Kyle Busch has a bad finish at Talladega, he's done.
Yeah.
And that, basically you're.
Well, the same would be true of Gordon or,
Yep.
exactly. But as I just pointed out, Sunday takes us to the 2 2/3 mile super speedway for restrictor plate racing at Talladega. And everything, as we just pointed out, could get shook up quite easily here. And we could be looking at a very different leaderboard next week at this time. Coverage of that race begins at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. So with just 5 races remaining, Sidekick, that's it. It's hard to believe we're already here. Just 5 races remaining. What the hell do we do with fantasy? As this, at the crapshoot known as Talladega. And so let's get to your NASCAR fantasy picks brought to us by our friends down in the Baltimore area at Herb FM Sports Internet Radio. Check them out at herbfm.com. What do you got for us this week?
Well, just throw them in throw darts at a dartboard. I've got 5 names that statistically run a little bit better. But, it is really a crapshoot.
Right.
So we're going to start off with Matt Kenseth on the roster, $29.
Okay.
Clint Boyer, Uncle Mark's fave, $26. Jeff Burton, $20. David Reagan, $10.50. And my lucky dog, sponsored by Herb FM Sports, goes to Dave Gilliland at $8.50, taking your roster to $94.
All right. There you have it. So good luck to everybody who's in the hunt. And we were looking at that board. Everybody in really is still kind of in the hunt.
Yep.
Although, boy, it's starting to stabilize at the top a little bit, isn't it?
Yep. And I caught up to you finally. So
yeah, we're tied
now.
We're tied. All right, listen, before we leave motorsports and auto racing, how about we go take a look at this week's Frat House Sports Facebook post of the week, which was NASCAR related. And something we have not brought up yet, and there have been a couple of interesting sidebar stories that have gone along with it as well. Yeah. And that was a post, this post got the most views, the most traffic, the most comment, the most shares. And that was the announcement that I put up on Monday that Michael Waltrip Racing was downsizing to a 2-car team for 2014. Word came then later on this afternoon that in fact, Martin Truex Jr. would be taking over the number 78 of Furniture Row.
Yes.
So what do you make of this? Because real quick, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but what do you make of this? Because one of the comments that I put up was there was a lot of bravado from Michael Waltrip Racing. That in fact, hey, no problem, we got everything under control. But obviously, with the loss of sponsorship, that's not the case.
No, he was obviously blowing wind, and honestly, I think it was a D-bag move for him to let go of Martin Truex Jr. in the first place when he had nothing. He was completely innocent of all the stuff that happened at Richmond.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was Clint Boyer who spun, so he directly was implicated in it. And then you had Vicker's team, while Vicker himself wasn't quite, knew he was called down to pit road. So you got these two teams, but yet it's Napa that leaves, who is Truex sponsor, and now he's letting go of Truex. He was the innocent guy.
Yeah.
And I just think it's...
I took a little bit of exception to the fact that Waltrip was all puffing his chest out going, hey, no problem, we've got it all under control. And then, and I kind of felt that wasn't going to be the case anyhow.
So,
all right, but there we go.
I think, it'll work out for Truex.
I do too. I absolutely agree with you because, obviously we've seen...
Good fit.
Yeah, obviously we've seen from Furniture Row. They've got some good equipment out there on the racetrack. Kurt Busch has done well. I think Truex will probably do very well as well. So we'll see where things go with that one. All right, as we continue forward. 5 races remaining, that's it. All right. Let's go look at NFL and some football, and this is the big portion of the show. Now, last week, we introduced a new partnership with Coach and Player Magazine, which you can find over at www.coachandplayer.com. We had columnist and analyst Chris Franklin on last week, and we kind of ran out of time. But that's not unusual for us. To get into everything we wanted to. So we chatted earlier this evening with Chris again, We were talking exclusively NFC East, and what we want to do is bring that to you right now. All right, listen, we're thrilled to have Chris Franklin back with us this week again from Coach and Player Magazine. Thanks for being with us again, Chris.
Thanks, guys, for having me. Appreciate it.
You got it, man. I wanted to get into a couple of things with you last week, which we really didn't have time for, which is why this is great. And actually, it's actually more appropriate this week because you've got a new piece coming out over on Coach and Player that's all about just the NFC East. And I believe it's titled something to the effect of Where's the Beast? And I think a lot of us, particularly people who are, well, fans like myself, I'm an Eagles fan, we've been wondering that ourselves. But here's where it's appropriate. We've got a big matchup, a big matchup between two 500 teams with the Dallas Cowboys this week coming into Philadelphia, who are also 3-3. And the outcome of this game is going to determine, for the moment at least, who might be the NFC East leader at this moment. What's your read on this game?
First of all, when's the last time we heard a 3-3 game being very big? I mean, it's a rarity now, but exactly, because right now, especially with the NFC East, it looks like the NFC is only going to get one team out of this division.
Absolutely.
So the winner is going to be 3-0 in the division. Whoever takes the lead here is going to have it be in a driver's seat for the rest of the season.
Is that exactly the way you see it, that whoever wins this game might in fact be in the driver's seat for the remainder of the entire season for the East?
I believe so, and I think it's even more important for the Cowboys because when you pair up the two schedules side by side, the Eagles, just because they finished in last place last season, the Eagles are going to have a way easier schedule than the Cowboys themselves. Mm-hmm. So it's imperative that the Cowboys, if they want to have a shot to take the division, that they win this week and eventually the last game of the season against the Eagles again in Dallas.
Nonetheless, though, we will play. I mean, both teams will play one more time. I mean, that could actually turn out to be more crucial than this one, really, when it comes right down to it, depending on how everything plays out over the next number of weeks.
Exactly, but also, if you leave that last game with the Cowboys, look at their history when it comes to quote-unquote NFC East championships. Mm-hmm. They haven't fared very well. Tony Romo comes up small in those instances as well. The Cowboys' defense seems to falter, so I think they want to go ahead and try to lock it up a little bit earlier than they have in the past and try to avoid December, crucial games in December if they can.
All right, just real quick, looking at this particular matchup this weekend, we've got Murray out on the Dallas Cowboys side. That seems to be a big factor. Over on the Eagles side, we don't have Vic again. We've got Nick Foles going in. We've had the quarterback controversy going on in Philadelphia here all week long again. How do you think this one's going to come out in the end of it?
Well, I think the most important thing is, especially when it comes to DeMarco Murray, the Cowboys' offense is definitely going to be pass happy, it seems like.
Yep.
When they don't have the threat of Murray running, you don't suck up the linebackers, you don't suck up the safeties a little bit more.
Right.
And then the Eagles can, in essence, plan for a more passing attack. I think the Eagles are going to win this one probably in the realm of 27-21. It's going to be I think it's going to be a good old-fashioned offensive output. I think you'll see teams a lot of passing yards going on, but Eagles will come out on top in this affair.
Interesting, and that's in Chip Kelly's first season.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. While we're talking about this matchup and Chip Kelly, I've been a little critical of Chip Kelly's offense, and how long was it? Is it going to work before we start seeing injuries? We see Vic injured now. Yeah. Is this really going to work in the NFL with this Chip Kelly experiment, or is this flash in the pan?
I think it can work. Now, one thing we have seen is that everybody had the notion of when he's going to come in, it's just going to be the straight Oregon offense. And I think last week was a great example of how he can adapt. He took Nick Foles, who's not the most fleet of foot, even though that first series he did rush the ball in. He seemed to adapt more to I call Nick throws, more of the intermediate routes, more of the short pass as well too. And then when once again they drew that defense in a little bit more, they started creeping in. You started to see that flag pattern and the fade routes to Deshaun Jackson. Next thing you know, touchdown as well too. He seems to have a great grasp of that offense. Mm-hmm. He's a leader. The guys still believe in him. Kelly was able to have the team install confidence in both Vic and Foles. So I don't think this team is going to miss a beat.
Of the two quarterbacks, who's the better quarterback for this Kelly offense?
I think if you're looking for a true Kelly offense, I think Vic's going to be the better guy for it. I think in the moment right now, what this team needs, I think Foles is the more steady, calmer. I mean, even when it comes to the red zone.
Yep.
Just look at the fact that Foles is a little bit taller, doesn't have as many balls batted down back in his face. He knows where he wants to go before the passes happen. I think definitely Foles, as of right now, Foles is the better pick.
I agree. How about go ahead.
And I was going to follow. Now, with Foles playing as well as he's playing now, do we have a controversy in Philadelphia now between Vic and Foles?
I don't think there's a controversy per se. I think it's a great situation to be in. The fact that you have two quarterbacks. Look at what Houston's going with today. They have Schaub, T.J. Yates, now Case Keenum. I don't know about you, but I don't know if I want Case Keenum or T.J. Yates coming off the bench if I'm hurt. I think Nick Foles is a better quarterback than both of them, and I think that it's definitely going to work out for the Eagles.
All right, now let's get out of the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles for a moment. Let's take a look at the other two teams. What in the hell happened to both of them? You know, there was a lot of talk preseason from all of us here at the Frat House about the possible sophomore slump of RG3. Is that a slump, or is that just the fact he may have been rushed back from that injury way too soon? And what in the world? Is it all offensive line issues with the Giants? What's going on?
Well, I think when it comes to the Redskins, it's two-pronged. I think RG3, that preseason time missing preseason definitely did not help him.
Yeah.
I also think that Alfred Morris is having more of a sophomore slump than RG3 as well, too. RG3 is more injury-related. He's not, when it came to that read option, you have to respect both Alfred Morris and RG3. RG3's hurt. You can keep more on Morris. And I also think that his receivers are there, but he's not hitting them right. As for the Giants, I think that it's the message of Coughlin. I think everybody's starting to tune him out a little bit more. The rah-rah, hey, I'm getting in your face. I think that's weighing on him a little bit. I do think the injuries are playing a part in the Giants' problems right now. I think that Eli doesn't have confidence in that line. That's why he's rushing throws or throwing aside. So that's why I think the Giants are in trouble when it comes to that.
Two follow-ups to you on the Giants. Number one, Tom Coughlin's already come out right now and indicated he has absolutely, or at least it's not crossed his mind yet, to replace Eli Manning. Question to you on that one, is that the right move? But number two, how long does Tom Coughlin keep his job if this continues the way it is?
Well, first, to answer your first question, I think that you should not remove Eli Manning at all. He's going to be he's your face of your franchise. Right. He's going to be the franchise for the next probably 2 years as well, too. So I don't think that's a great idea to go ahead and pull him, especially if quarterbacks they're a confident breed. You yank him right now when he's in a slump, and then you decide to throw him back out there, he's going to start thinking a little bit more. As for Coughlin, I think if he doesn't get at least 2-3 wins down the stretch or show that his team is starting to come together with him, I think he's done in New York.
Does he get bounced before the season's over?
No, I think because of the 2 Super Bowls, I think they let him finish it out. But unfortunately, I think if he doesn't get better, I think he's gone.
All right, Chris. I got to tell you, great stuff we've got going here. And here's the indication. I had more on the list that I wanted to get to you with, and we're not going to have time. There's a good indication. Everybody, I encourage you to get out, check out Chris's latest piece on the NFC East over on Coach and Player magazine at coachandplayer.com. Chris, thanks very much for being with us. We're going to get you back in because I got to talk SEC with you.
That sounds great. Mike, sidekick, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
You got it, man.
Have a good one, Chris.
Alrighty, well, thanks again to Chris. And remember that you can catch all of his columns and writings over at Coach and Player magazine. And make sure that you get over and bookmark their site. All right? All right. Listen, what do you say we take a 4-minute break ourselves? Huh?
And now, 4 minutes of football.
Well, you got to know that we're in the throes of an unusual NFL football season when the announced AFC Offensive Player of the Week is Andy Dalton, and the NFC is Nick Foles. Dalton was 26 of 40 for 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 3 sacks, and 105.9 QB rating in a 27-24 overtime win over the Buffalo Bills.
Strictly pedestrian, right?
Now, Foles, yes, it was, exactly. Now, Foles, on the other hand, was 22 of 31, 296 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 1 sack, and 133.3 QB rating in a 31-20 win over the Buccaneers. With regard to these awards, every kid's got to get a trophy. Is that the case here? Huh?
Look, can you cut the Ginger Giant some
Yeah, I'm going to cut him some slack. All right. Foles, though? Seriously? Okay, well, we're going to see what he can do this week. We're going to see what he can do this week.
I'm telling you, man.
All right. Listen, one of the most talked about games of the season is the upcoming homecoming of Peyton Manning back to the Indianapolis Colts on a Sunday night. Now, needless to say, you knew someone was going to get with the Colts owner, Jim Irsay, the guy responsible for leaving Manning go for a sit-down and a chat. And this week, in a USA Today article, Irsay was quoted as saying, we've changed our model a little bit because we wanted more than one of these. And he was pointing to his Super Bowl ring. Tom Brady never had consistent numbers, but he had 3 of these. Pittsburgh had 2, the Giants had 2, Baltimore had 2, and we had 1. That leaves you frustrated. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Are you kidding me? I'll tell you what's frustrating. An owner with a Super Bowl championship sounding like a spoiled, ungrateful child. And that's basically how Broncos head coach John Fox responded to Irsay's comments as well, saying they sounded a little ungrateful and unappreciative to me for a guy that has set a standard, won a Super Bowl, won division titles, won 4 MVP awards. I'd be thankful with that 1 Super Bowl ring because there's a lot of people out there that don't have one at all. Comments, real quick?
Yeah, real quick. Irsay must be on the sauce again.
All righty, there you go. You didn't hear that? That was Sidekick. That wasn't Frat House Sports speaking. Okay. Listen, here we go again. The alleged controversy, furor over the name of the Washington Redskins and whether they should change the name, reached a new national high this week, thanks to another infamous 2.5-minute editorial delivered by Bob Costas during halftime of Sunday night's game between the Redskins and Dallas Cowboys. So we had the
my goodness, what a fuss you're making!
It's going on right there. All right. My response, how about all I can say is ugh. I have so had it with this, but I did have a little bit more to say about it this week over on our Frat House Sports website in an op-ed piece that I issued. In my piece titled "The Washington Redskins Are a Team, Not a Political Statement," I stated, I actually became perturbed by Costas preaching to captive millions utilizing a pulpit not available to any but privileged few to continue stirring the pot of a perceived hullabaloo that admittedly he stated even a majority of Native Americans say they are not offended. And therein lies the point. The majority of Native Americans do not view this as an issue. But when non-Native Americans are asked, do you think Native Americans could be offended by this? How do you expect them to respond? Of course, they're going to respond politically, the political correct way, and they're going to say yes, out of fear that they're going to be, perceived as racists or bigots. It's just the whole situation's just gotten completely blown out of control. In my opinion.
We've become a nation of wusses.
I got a suggestion.
I'm glad that you're finally on board with Costas just shutting the hell up.
Well, I got a suggestion. I think you just change, all you do is just change the image. Huh? That's what you do. Just change the image. Then you won't have a problem. Nobody will be bitching about it anymore. Huh?
Yep.
That's all you do. Hey, there you go. You don't have to change the name.
Is that the best you got, huh? Is that the best you can do?
All right. Let's get into something a bit lighter, a bit more humorous, but we'll see. Anyhow, our Week 7 picks of the week for the NFL. Brought to you by our friends Carl and Jim over at CLW83.com. Get over there and check out their network with their original podcast programming, and many thanks to them for their support of us here at Frat House Sports. I got to be honest, I would have expected 6 weeks ago, I wouldn't have expected 6 weeks ago that this game would have been on our radar. But it is, and that is the Dallas Cowboys at the Philadelphia Eagles. That's a 1 o'clock game on Sunday. Both teams currently with a 3-3 record, tied for first place in the NFC East. As an Eagles fan, I will admit that the old-time rivalry of these two teams has been, we've revisited that a bit this week, and I kind of like it. I kind of dig it. That's kind of cool. And it's nice that for the first time in a while, it does actually matter. The Cowboys right now are coming off of a 31-16 win over the Washington Redskins, where Romo was so-so, responsible for 1 TD and 1 interception. The Cowboys were the beneficiary, really, of a special teams TD on an 86-yard punt return. DeMarco Murray had a TD as well, but we already know he's not going to have any this week as he's out of the lineup. We've already talked about the Eagles a bit. NFC Offensive Player of the Week, Nick Foles, gets the start again as Vic is still hobbled by a hamstring. LaShawn McCoy last week racked up 171 all-purpose yards. Deshaun Jackson killed me in fantasy with 2 TDs. And holy smokes, even Riley Cooper had 120 yards and a TD. I'm really not sure what to make of this matchup. I'm going to be perfectly blunt with you. Currently, the Eagles are favored by 3. Give us your best read on this one.
Well,
and then then I'm going to throw a dart at this one.
It's as unpopular as it may be. Up to DeMarco Murray getting hurt, I thought the Cowboys, with the way the season has gone, I thought the Cowboys were the team in the East to beat.
Yeah, you did say that, correct.
Based on, how the Redskins are playing and the Giants going over. But with DeMarco Murray out, how that affects Tony Romo's offense, I'm not quite sure how that's going to pan out for him. So I'm going to go with the Eagles on this one. Mm-hmm. If DeMarco Murray was in the game, I'm all in. It's definitely a Cowboys game, but I just don't know how that's going to affect his offense not being able to run with.
So you're going with the Eagles on it?
I'm going with the Eagles.
I'm going with the Cowboys, as much as it kills me. And I'm going to tell you why. Even without Murray,
a violation.
Look, go take a look at what Murray put up last week. I think he had 46 yards on the ground. That was it. So the bottom line is, and I believe he did have a touchdown, but so what? Who cares? It was only 46 yards. I don't believe that this Cowboys team is built around the running game anyhow. This is a pass team, and the Eagles have already shown their secondary is suspect all season long. I frankly think that I believe the Cowboys right now, if you want to say it's kind of stupid, they're the best team in the NFC East.
I made a terrible
they're
mistake.
the best team in the NFC East, but mediocre across the league. I'm going with the Cowboys on this one. All right, let's go take a look at the Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs. That's a 4:25 game on Sunday. This Texans team just appears to me to be quietly in complete shambles. And that's why I thought that really last week they would lose again. And that they did to the Rams. 38-13, where the Texans fans got their wish and saw TJ Yates come into the game. And what did he do? Oh, he threw a pick six. I believe that's the 5th game in a row. I think it's the 5th. If it's not the 5th, it's the 4th. But the Chiefs are, let's go take a look at the Chiefs, who are remarkably unbeaten. Somehow you just got to feel, though, that they're going to drop one shortly. All right?
Okay, you're killing me.
Is this going to be the week? All right? They didn't last week. All right? They took care of the Raiders, and it wasn't even a game in the second half, as KC notched their 6th in a row, 24-7. Chiefs are favored by 6. Do they drop one this week? There might be some extenuating circumstances that say,
I'm not going to get into
happen.
that.
Well, late word coming out today
Exactly.
that Case Keenum is going to be getting the start against my fantasy defense. It's just going to chew him up and spit him out. I'm picking the Kansas City Native American tribal leaders to win this one.
You got to love that.
And stay undefeated.
I am picking. I am picking the Chiefs as well in that one. Beautiful. I am picking the Chiefs as well in that one.
You are talking about the nonsensical ravings of a lunatic mind.
The Texans are just way too much in a shambles at this particular point. I really just
Are you
cannot
making fun
believe
of stutterers now?
the difference between last year and this year. All right, let's go take a look at our third game, and this is the premier game of the weekend. That's and we've been talking about it already.
You.
That's the Denver Broncos at the Indianapolis Colts.
Crush.
8:30 on Sunday evening. Here we go. as I just pointed out, a premier game, not because of the teams. We know that. It's all the sidebar stories of Manning returning to Indianapolis.
It's my quarterback.
The Broncos are coming off their win against the Jaguars. Now, look, hold on. Let me get this one straight. Let me get this one out. They're coming off a win against the Jaguars, 35-19. But it wasn't the blowout that everyone thought it was going to be. In fact, it was only 14-12 Denver at the half and only 21-19 midway through the third quarter. And in fact, it was probably Peyton's weakest looking game in the past 6 weeks. But you got to think he's going to come out filled, and fired up to go up against the Colts with probably a nod from the coaching staff to do whatever he wants for as long as he wants. And so my question is, does Manning put up 7 TDs this week? We'll see. The Colts, surprisingly, I say, dropped their Monday night matchup against the San Diego Chargers 19-9. And I got to be honest, they certainly did not look like a team that was leading a division. The Broncos are favored by 6.5. There's no way that a Manning homecoming here on this one is going to go any way but for the Broncos, right? You don't have that one going any other way.
I'm going with the Broncos because you've given them enough airtime in this show.
Alrighty. Yeah, I don't think you have to guess. I'm going with the Broncos as well. Let's go take a look at our fourth game of the weekend, and that's the Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a 4:25 game on Sunday. The Ravens lost a close one to the Packers 19-17 to go 500, 3-3 on the season, and a second place tie in the AFC North with the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, that's where they are. Joe Flacco ended up with a 112.6 QB rating, 2 TDs, no interceptions. But both those touchdowns came in the fourth quarter, and it really didn't feel like Flacco got into this game until about that point. I mean, it took him almost the entire game to really get a feel for it. Baltimore has completely forgotten about a ground game whatsoever. If they can't pass, or if their receivers have the bad case of the dropsies, the Ravens are just flat out flat. That's it. The Steelers got their first win of the season. Does it count, though, if you get a win against the Jets? Not sure. Nonetheless, they got it done 19-6 with 12 of those points coming off of the foot of Sean Schweesum. He was sitting on my bench, my fantasy bench. Yeah. The Steelers.
Okay, you're killing me.
The Steelers just look like an uninspired lot. I got to be honest. They're not even enjoyable to watch, but we really can't say much more, even for the Ravens as well. Steelers, nonetheless, are a 2-point favorite at home for being what may turn out to be a really dog kind of a game to watch. It's kind of a tough game to call, isn't it?
No, I think it's kind of even. This is my Bomb Diggity Bomb, sponsored by CLW83. Give them guys a listen over at www.clw83.com.
Yep.
This, on paper, this doesn't look like a good matchup.
It looks like a boring game.
But I'm telling you, watch this one. This may turn into a slobber knocker between these two.
I agree with you.
Because this is the divisional game. And this may be good. This may turn out to actually be a good game.
I agree with you.
So the Steelers are a little bit banged up, and I think the Ravens are going to be able to walk away with this one. Barely.
Both teams have just looked absolutely so mediocre, and in fact, really, when Pittsburgh's looked worse than mediocre. Pittsburgh's favored by 2. The only thing you can attribute that to is home field. I got to go with Baltimore on this one. Baltimore. All right, so we're both going there. Baltimore on this one. All right, there you have it. All right, those are our picks for the week. Let's real quick run around and take a look at our Frat House Sports Fantasy Football League. And, well, I'm not even in the playoffs at this point right now, but you moved up quite nicely.
Yes,
quite handsomely.
I'm in
number 5, yeah.
Yes, I'm in a bit of a dogfight, though, in our division. I can't,
Well, I'm still in a pretty good spot in my division.
Yeah, I need to get Jim a loss there, but, and then I've got Rich. Rich keeps, the three of us keep pace. We just keep winning week
4-2. It's still a very, very competitive league. That's what's terrific about it. All right, we got a little UFC coming up on Saturday night, do we not?
Yes, Saturday night.
We've talked about these guys before.
Yes, 3 times. Well, this will be the 3rd time we're talking about him.
Yep.
We've got UFC 166, Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos for the heavyweight title. The last time they met, the belt changed hands.
Yep.
So we'll see if it goes back the other way now. And that'll be Saturday night, 10 o'clock, obviously on Fox Sports and all those. There will be in Facebook. There will be all the preliminary fights. It usually runs from about 3 in the afternoon until a little bit after midnight with all the fights they have. So the pay-per-view part is only 10 to a little bit after 12.
Right.
But there's a lot of free
main
fights.
event.
They make a day out
Main
of it,
event.
really.
Yep.
So.
All right.
And I also want to give a shout-out to my guys, the Nittany Lions, for knocking off your Michigan Wolverines.
We had to make sure we got that one in there right at the end.
Had to get
right
it
at
in
the
there.
end.
We're sitting on top of the story of the century here.
Unfortunately, knocked my Wolverines down to 26th in the poll rankings.
Yep. Right out.
So the
You're wasting my time.
Well, we'll see. We'll see where things go. Listen, I pointed out, I put up some new content about the Washington Redskins this week. Make sure you're checking us out over on our new Frat House Sports website. All right, www.frathousesports.net. All right. All right, there's our packed program again for this week. A lot of football chat in there. You can bet it's going to be coming right back at you again next week. Same kind of format. Oh, so much to cover. In the meantime, you know what you got to do. You got to keep us real, you got to keep us live, and you got to keep us going. And we'll see you next week. Catch you then. I was going to take the Detroit Lions and the Cincinnati Bengals. I thought of the 4 games.
Why would you not, Dave? Seriously, if you're looking at the records, that's a 3-3 against the 1-4. The Patriots are 5.
This is a very difficult game to call, though. I'm going to tell you right now.
This is a straight up pick-em.
This is a tough game to call.
To be honest,
this is a good game.
This
is the Kansas game. The Kansas City game is the one that shouldn't be on there. That's the one that shouldn't be on there. This is a good game. Where is that? That Ravens game, the Ravens Steelers game. Very tough to pick.
What was the other 4th game we came up with?
Detroit and Cincinnati.
Right.
And I thought that was a great. I thought that was a great matchup.
See,
let's come to an understanding.
This is a division rival too. I get that.
Well, no, this is a classic bomb diggity bomb pick.